Guys, UNLV is 3-0 in football for the first time since 1984. Wow. The Runnin' Rebels are undefeated. And Dan, you're asking, why are you bringing up UNLV? I don't even know what conference they're in. I think they're in the Mountain West, by the way.
Were you asking it? Let's confirm that.
I'm asking both of those things.
Okay,
yes.
just good.
I think they're in the Mountain West, to answer your second question. But the reason I'm bringing it up is we're having something that is unprecedented. Matthew Sluka, their starting quarterback, good player, came from Holy Cross, did 4 years at Holy Cross, came over to UNLV, has a 20-5 touchdown interception ratio, has the Runnin' Rebels playing good ball. All of a sudden, today decided, I'm going to redshirt. Reason? I'm not getting paid what I thought I was going to get paid from the NIL collective of the UNLV.
What a time.
Runnin' Rebels.
3 games in. So he's played the 3 games. They've won the 3 games, and he's sort of holding out with leverage.
Exactly.
He's not holding out.
4 years at Holy Cross, right? And then came here and then played 3 games and is now going to redshirt. So it's going to be a 6th year or something
Exactly.
like that.
So you're seeing a lot of that where guys will play 4 years at a school, and then they want to see, hey, can I play at a bigger school, play bigger time college football? And that's what happened with this kid. He has played 3 games. They are 3-0. UNLV has not given him what they promised they would give him, and this kid has decided to redshirt. He has decided that he will sit out the remainder of the season. College football it always was a business. It has become a business right in front of our eyes. It's amazing. And so I am wondering, I couldn't botch it, I tried to. And so I was thinking, like, the Canes, man, I hope they're paying Cam Ward everything they promised they would pay Cam Ward, because Cam Ward, he'll quit before the playoffs if they don't.
What's the business discrepancy? What's the amount?
So he's not holding out to get more money. Essentially what happens is he says that he was verbally promised a minimum of $100,000. All he has received at the moment, according to Pete Thamel, is a $3,000 relocation fee, and then the university came back with a contract that said they would pay him $3,000 a month, which would amount to $12,000, which is $88,000 short of what it is that he said he was verbally promised to commit there.
That's what he's got to learn. All these students who have not taken the finance classes, that verbal promises don't mean anything. Like, you've got to get that down on paper. Otherwise, it's just a threat.
Well, you say verbal promises don't mean anything. I saw Clinton Portis was on a podcast the other day, and how he committed to the University of Miami was they took him to a strip club. And while they were out with him at the strip club, and evidently he was getting a lap dance, he shouted, "I'm coming."
He was asked, "Are you coming?"
Phrasing.
Yeah, he was asked, "Are you coming?" Obviously to the University of Miami, right? Are you coming? And he said, "Yeah, I'm coming."
And so the next day, coaches started talking to him and saying, "Congratulations on committing to the school." And that's not what he meant. He didn't mean he was coming to the school. That's how the verbal agreement worked. But if this kid is redshirting, how is this not a holdout? Because is he going to come back to UNLV if he gets the money, or he's going to redshirt and then play somewhere else when he gets his redshirt year? I didn't even know that you could play the first 3 games. I thought that you basically lost your redshirt year faster than that.
Back in my day, you play 1 game, you lose your redshirt,
One
right?
play,
You're up to 4 games now that you can redshirt. You could play 3 games, and then after that, you can redshirt. Once you hit the 4th game is when you're now unable to redshirt.
According to Thamel, he reevaluated his options and decided to play elsewhere next year, and the red shirt will allow him to play a full spring and at a new school and develop with a trainer this fall.
That is overt.
We have 27-year-old athletes roaming around universities playing with and against 18-year-olds. It's absurd.
The kid from Oklahoma State's like 19 years, or like he's played 9 seasons of college football, I think.
The University of Miami has a tight end who has played 9 seasons, McCormick.
Cam McCormick, yeah.
And I heard the other day that there was a college game that had quarterbacks starting that were an average, like an age between them of 56 years old or something ridiculous like that. And then you had 2 rookies starting in the NFL who were much younger than that, because college football has become professional football.
That was the Utah game, and had Cam Rising started that game, the combined age of those quarterbacks, he did not, by the way, would have been like 49 years old. And there was an NFL game which had 2 starters that were 44.
Well, the business of this is super interesting from a number of angles. I know that people generally don't like ratings talk, but do you guys find interesting that what Fox College Football is doing on Fridays, they got a number for the game between, I can't say, Nebraska and Illinois,
Yeah.
that was a World Series Friday night number. It was like 4 million. Or I was like, it peaked at 5 million. And then at the same time on ESPN, you had Syracuse-Stanford, and that got like 1 million. So what Fox is doing on Fridays with the business of this is getting a monster number because they've inserted some football on Fridays. And even if it's Nebraska, Illinois, it ends up getting 5 times the number of Syracuse-Stanford on ESPN.
Could be a little misleading because I think Illinois won that game in a huge upset. So maybe people were just like, oh, huge upset's going on here. But it's still impressive number.
Well, it peaked at 5 million, but it was already at 4 million. And I was surprised to see the discrepancy. Look, man, when I'm looking for college football all of my life, when Izzy says back in my day, ESPN tends to be where I go, and Fox has tried to change the game on college football, not just on Saturdays, but they're taking a game. The games they're taking would fall into a Saturday and get totally lost.
Right.
Totally
That's why it's so
lost.
smart. On a Friday night, like, you've got a bunch of people wanting to watch television, and you've got the probably only significant college football game on, and it's a major network. You don't have to, because some people just don't have ESPN anymore. And so you've got it right there on Fox. Why not?
By the way, that Nebraska quarterback who looks like and acts like Patrick Mahomes, all that stuff is great right up until you lose. I mean, if you're going to do that, don't lose, okay? Because Mahomes never loses.
I mean, he lost a bunch in college.
The idea that kid whose name escapes me, it's
Dylan
like
Raiola.
Thank you. He looks like Patrick Mahomes and is pantomiming his pregame routines in a way that's obvious. It reminded me
creepy.
of the way that Kobe used to pantomime speaking like Michael Jordan, because he obviously Mahomes is the icon that you're learning from, and he's actively doing things that make him physically look like Patrick Mahomes when he's warming up, how he's wearing his hair, but he's denying that he actually is doing that when it seems obvious that that's what he's doing.
Kobe denied, didn't he? He didn't say he was trying to mimic or trying to do everything exactly the way MJ was, but he absolutely did.
In the Mahomes family cosplay situation, we have Dylan Raiola, who's the quarterback at Nebraska. See if we can put up that picture that we had on video. He's to the left, looking exactly like Patrick Mahomes would dress to a pregame situation. To the right is his brother, who's committing also to Nebraska, who looks like Jackson Mahomes, Patrick Mahomes' brother. So now they're both.
He looks like he ate Jackson Mahomes, but yes, I get what you're doing there.
What are you
Come
doing?
on.
I'm just saying Jackson is much skinny. Like, this guy's like a football player. I'm saying Jackson is not as jacked as this guy. This guy looked like he swallowed all of Jackson Mahomes.
You were
Hey, yo.
Jackson.
you're body shaming him.
up?
No, you're okay.
You think
there.
I'm body shaming that guy? He looks jacked. Like, I was not calling that guy fat.
When
I
you say-
apologize to
Jackson.
the guy who looks like Jackson Mahomes.
When you say that someone ate someone else, generally that's a fat joke. Speaking of which, behind me
What is
on
that?
the screen is Greg Cote, clearly
Oh, boy.
enjoying himself at Mardi Gras. And the Cotes, are all the Cotes going to Fantasy Fest in Key West, or are you just going, Chris?
I'm just going. My dad, not surprisingly, has been many times, though, and has kind of
Badass.
given me the scouting report of how I will, anyone you want to see without a lot of clothes will have clothes on, and the people you don't want to see naked will be naked. So I'm a little regretting going, but
Why?
I don't know, because
Who talked you into this?
it's a group of friends going. I'm going to go down there with a group of people, and I love a good people watch, and that's what I'm being told this is the peak of.
See a
So,
lot of people.
Yeah.
A lot of all those people.
More than you want to see
Yes.
of those
A
people.
lot of sagging.
a lot of this.
Occasionally you'll be impressed by something, you know?
Jeremy is still wandering around begging for anyone to listen to his baseball takes. He's got a whiteboard out there, and I do.
Jeremy was wandering around Fantasy Fest, and that does not make me excited.
I do want to get to, Jeremy, you're taking a beating from every angle around here in a way that doesn't seem very fair. I see that you're retweeting commentary from a Daniel Bishop who says, I think everyone on LeBatardShow gets mad at Jeremy because none have the passion about anything like he does about baseball and basketball. I mean, beside undercutting each other, there is no passion like Jer Bears. Pitch clocks killing it, and Jeremy is
The
retweeting
network,
that.
that is.
What's wrong with that? I mean, that's what Twitter is for. You retweet compliments. I mean, that's what I've been doing for 20 years. I mean, who cares about the negative stuff on Twitter? Let Jeremy be Jeremy. Let him enjoy his 5 fans, and let's move on. I mean,
boy, this place is so good for your self-esteem.
Michael Eaves of ESPN writes, the people who make a difference in your life are not the ones with the most credentials, the most money, or the most awards. They simply are the ones who care the most. Jeremy cares deeply. Care is something that we mock around here. We are careless in every single way. Let's go out to Jeremy. What else do you have from baseball? There's been a lot of throwing to video by you today as you try and become Jon Stewart. What do you have for us now?
I have 2 more videos for you, Dan, because if I couldn't get you on the good baseball that's happening as the NL and AL wildcard chases are heating up the way they are in the final week, maybe I can get you with bad baseball. Because the White Sox last night were playing the Angels, with the White Sox trying to avoid the worst record in baseball history, but the Angels just 3 losses from having the worst record in their franchise's history. So 2 god-awful teams. And we'll start in the 5th inning with the White Sox in the field, a 0-0 ball game. Here's what happens for the Angels.
And Robert pops it up.
The wrong video.
That was the wrong video.
That's
That's
the
at
wrong
8th inning.
But that's in the 8th inning.
Good job, Jon Stewart.
So, but here's what happened. Earlier in the game, there was a sky-high pop-up just in front of the pitcher's mound that landed and was an infield single for the Los Angeles Angels. Later in the game, that's the moment where the White Sox were down 2-1 in the 8th. They had a sky-high pop-up with 2 outs. And, of course, then the Angels let that fall. The White Sox went on to win. The Angels are now 2 losses from having the worst record in franchise history. The White Sox, of course, either today, tomorrow, or by the end of the season will become the worst team in baseball history. And that was probably the worst segment in show history.
As I mentioned, this is a careless show. Why did you throw it to the wrong video?
I threw it to the right video, but,
okay.
We worked on the order and everything.
Can we play the video?
Maybe we could. Maybe we can't.
Video?
I don't think it matters at this point.
I don't think anything matters at this point, Chris.
All right, so let's
it was really fun doing this job for a while, but...
Got a minor penalty, 2 minutes for ruining comedy.
Thank you.
Didn't even
My
get to
fault.
the best part about that
my
White Sox
fault.
game is they came back at home and were booed relentlessly by the home fans for winning the game.
Yeah, if
because
we
they
had had the right
wanted to
video,
set
then
the
maybe
record.
I would have said, hey, they chanted sell the team, but then they had their first comeback of the season. It was a comeback win. They're now 1-94 when trailing after 7 innings. But, we could have gotten to that, but unfortunately,
Wow.
yeah, good stat, right?
Can we
sometimes
play
people
the
try at their
correct
jobs
video,
here.
please? Play the correct video.
See the great Gatsby last Got a minor penalty, 2 minutes for ruining comedy.
Excellent show. My stomach was killing me. I had a bazooki right before.
That is not
Nailed
the
it.
right
Nah, you know what?
video.
That is the right video.
That is
That's
not
the best
right
video. Just play that the rest of the show.
No, can we please play the correct video? I am meticulous about making sure that accuracy counts around here. Let's play the correct video.
Rojas on the ground at third. Machado touches third.
That's not the right video either. Okay.
Oh, man.
Triple play. You don't see
That's
that
a
every day.
triple play to make the playoffs. Are you kidding me?
Right.
Let's try and play the correct video for Jeremy, please. Let's play the correct one.
Got a minor penalty, 2 minutes for ruining comedy.
Because this week, where I have been living in Baltimore.
Alrighty.
Please don't put me on screen with that audio.
So is that 6 minutes?
Jeremy, get out of here.
All right.
Thank you.
Forever or
for all of your baseball contributions. No, just for now.
Let's go Tigers.
I believe that we're putting together the strangest set of ingredients in the history of sports content for our post-game show. I'm not going to tell you anything else. I'm simply
It's so bizarre.
I'm simply going to tell you that our post-game show, I believe, will have the single set of strangest ingredients that have ever been cooked together to do an allegedly sports type segment in the post-game show. I'm not going to tell you anything more about that. Billy, can you explain to me, please, why it is or how it is that you came in a little stinky yesterday? Why is
Stinky?
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
Oh. I know what you're talking about now. What are we talking about?
Why it is you came in a little stinky yesterday.
Well, I didn't come in stinky because I was very lucky. You guys ever have a moment where you leave and you realize I didn't put on the deodorant today, and then you do like and you think like I can risk it. I'm good. Yeah. I'm not.
Sure.
The smell check of yourself. We've all been there.
I dropped off my daughter at school, and I was like, I don't remember if I put on deodorant or not. And I do the smell, and then I realized I did not put on the deodorant. Not because like it was like bad, but it was like pre-bad. You know, what I mean?
Grajo, a little bit.
Like I could tell it was. I didn't smell the deodorant on me, so I knew I forgot to put on the deodorant.
Just smelled Billy.
Yeah, correct. And the last time that this happened to me was the Super Bowl Live, Super Bowl 54 down here in Miami in 2020, February of 2020. And when I was going to the Super Bowl, I realized, and you have to get there very early for the Super Bowl, I realized I was in a rush. I didn't want to miss the bus. I didn't put on deodorant. Fortunately, I drove to a hotel where we were taking like the media shuttle, and then you hop on that bus, and then to take you up to the Super Bowl. Now, to being at a hotel, I found a little store in the hotel, and I bought deodorant. But there's no such store here at work. We don't sell deodorant at work, as far as I know. I don't know. I haven't checked everything, but we don't sell deodorant here. So at the time, I bought, and I thought it was funny. It was a deodorant. It was Old Spice, and the scent was Swagger. And then I told the story about how I went.
Great scent, yeah.
I went to the Super Bowl, and I was feeling more confident because I was wearing my Old Spice Swagger. And then Old Spice heard, and then they sent like this whole gift bag, whatever. And I never thought about Old Spice Swagger again until I realized that I had dropped my daughter off and I didn't wear deodorant. And I said, you know what? If I remember correctly, I just kind of tossed that deodorant in the center console underneath a bunch of stuff.
Dangerous game.
I wonder if it's still in here, right?
Your entire house is in there.
Well, no, I hadn't even thought about the fact that I bought that little mini Old Spice Swagger and just tossed it in the center console. And then I put, like, I don't know if you guys put, like, napkins in there sometimes.
Dunkin'
I
napkins.
have, like, pens in there. Sometimes I have a notebook in case I think of notes. I'll make notes while I'm driving. I just have a CD player in my car, so I have some CDs in there. So I go digging through it. And sure enough, I find the Old Spice Swagger deodorant.
Wow.
That at this point I bought in 2020, so it's 4 years old.
It hadn't melted or anything?
No, so it wasn't like a
That's
gel.
crazy.
It was like a roll-on, but it was like the chalky white one. You know what I mean? So like to my surprise, this thing has not melted. So I put it on, and then after I put it on, I go, I wonder if deodorant expires. Because I had never considered the idea that deodorant expires. I run out of deodorant, obviously, before it would ever expire.
What
so I
sound
thought,
did it make when you put it on?
It didn't really, I'm not good with,
Like
the
sandpaper.
chalky one because, sometimes it's, hard. But this, thing, this rolled right on. And I smelled great. I looked at it. Deodorant apparently expires. It expired in 2021, so it expired 3 years ago, technically. Worked like a charm. Got me through the day. Feeling good yesterday. Old Spice Swagger, still in my car. Should I forget 4 years from now to put on deodorant again? I'm going to be ready. And I don't know about you guys. Good to go.
Obviously, we work in an incredible place, right?
You
I'm
okay?
getting emotional,
Yeah.
What happened?
If you come to work and you do not have deodorant, fear not. Because in both bathrooms here at Meadowlark Media, we have deodorant for you.
Shout out Kristen and Carmen.
I'm not
Spray
using
on.
community deodorant. That's
Nobody
not
uses
happening.
it.
It's spray on.
It's completely full.
It's spray on, not roll on.
No.
Spray on.
It's spray on.
Big difference.
Put it in your sleeve. 1, 2, you're done.
I'm surprised with all the things that you're worried about and all the blood doping and this and that in Germany that you're pro spray on deodorant.
I mean, I don't use it, but we have it.
I have a shameful and I guess gross admission. Mike famously, I don't know if he has one here, at the old studio had a work deodorant. I guess this happens to him a lot. I once used it without him knowing.
Oh, no.
Wait,
wow.
what?
I had
Wait,
forgotten.
Wait, hold on. It was roll on?
It was just one of those.
Did it have Mike's
It was
hair on it?
it was not spray.
It was
is what you're
degree.
saying.
It was not spray.
Wow.
I made my wife, Valerie, upset because early on when...
no.
Yes. Well, it's not deodorant related, but she used my toothbrush And I'm like, what are
No,
you doing?
No.
She used yours.
That's worse than deodorant.
You're in the right. You're right there.
I'm
Seriously.
like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Why are you using my toothbrush?
Right.
And
It's like a weird thing. Even though you've kissed her before, you're like, I don't want to use that again.
Yeah.
You threw it
mouth
away,
has been
right?
Several places, and the toothbrush is just one thing. It's not a huge deal, and you also wipe your toothbrush every single time. It's not like you just finish and you just put it right back down. I don't think it's that big a deal.
I give it a little clack.
Yeah.
A little clack right in there. I don't
So,
really
Dan,
do a lot
did
of
she-
wiping of it.
Did she assume your toothbrush? Like, how did that work? Did you crack open a new one? What happened
Were
there?
you standing there? Like, what?
she was disgusted by my disgust. Like she didn't like
Really?
that my
She took it personal.
Yeah, well, she just didn't like that I objected to the idea that anybody would be using my toothbrush.
How gross do you think her mouth is?
It's a mouth. It's not her mouth. It's anybody's mouth.
You're in the right, but I'm guessing you ended up apologizing to her.
Yes, of course.
You had the offsetting penalties of offsetting disgust. Like, your disgust can't do that to me. I'm the one that's disgusted.
So what happened with the toothbrush afterwards?
What was that sound?
It's just a
Little-
horn.
Chris,
Looking for
your
a window?
timing has been
I can name that tune.
so off.
We've got
since
3
the
minutes
plumbing.
left.
Well, go ahead. What are you trying to do? Cue me?
That's right.
Want to hear the end of the story?
Billy can finish our story while we're doing Against the Spread.
Dan's story.
Yeah, I don't know the end. I'm
Billy
asking.
can't finish Dan's
Spread.
story.
Somehow
Curious.
Billy was talking during the sound.
Oh, sorry. I
was
won't
me.
talk anymore.
Billy, what do you got?
Am I loud? I'm going to take Oklahoma -2 at Auburn this week.
Obviously.
Good pick.
I mean, listen, I don't know if Enos Cantor Freedom knows what he's talking about when it comes to football, but Bet the House has not let us down yet. We're riding high. I feel like we got to ride the hot hand of Bet the House of Representatives. So I'm going to take Oklahoma -2 at Auburn.
Against the Spread.
Obviously, Oklahoma.
All right, Tony, what do you got?
I've got, going to the NFL, by the way, we've got a classic bounce-back game, and it is prime for an upset.
Wow.
I've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers,
Oh, no.
home dogs, +2.5 against the Philadelphia Eagles. Dan, we know a
that's
lot
a
of things
lock.
are happening in Philly, okay? The Bucs just got beat by the Broncos in a game that they shouldn't have lost. The Eagles beat the Saints, who are the highest flying team in the league. That is a fishy line for me, +2.5 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Against
the Spread.
And let's not forget, Against the Spread is sponsored by DraftKings. Stay tuned because you'll hear all about DraftKings and what it has to offer throughout the show. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Izzy, bring us home.
So close. Indiana Fever. Caitlin Clark has a black eye. They're down 1-0. They did beat the Sun earlier in the year in a game that Caitlin was terrible. So I think they've got a shot to stay at least within 6.5. So I'm going to take the Indiana Fever +6.5.
Against
Thank you, Eddie.
Billy, it's interesting because the one place you could feel safe not putting deodorant on is Radio Row Super Bowl week. I mean, you're fine. Everyone smells there.
It was a Super Bowl.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
the
I was
actual game
dressed
itself.
to the
Okay,
nines. I
sorry.
had to be dressed to impress. So what happened to the toothbrush?
Put it on the poll, please, Juju, at LeBatardShow. Will you use community deodorant?
No.
The toothbrush was thrown out. I threw out the toothbrush.
Really?
Did that create a fight, or that was
Wow.
like accepted?
I would have been doubly offended if I was married
Yeah,
to you.
you then have,
Wow.
after the fight and after the apology, you have to use it at least a week.
It wasn't really a fight. I just hurt her feelings by being disgusted by that, and then she was disgusted that I would register disgust. It was worse than a fight. I don't want to feel that with my wife. None of that.
I think the way you get out of throwing it away immediately, like safely, is you like comically, like cartoonishly fumble it into the toilet, like whoa, 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 and then it falls into the toilet, and like, oh, we gotta toss it out. Sorry, babe.
There's no going back.
Yep.
We are in a contract year with DraftKings. They are sponsoring the next segment, which I believe to be the oddest ingredients ever put together in sports. Stugotz, what an exciting collection of people we have today. Look at Ricky Williams, how happy he is. If
Yes.
you want,
He's always happy, Dan.
If you want private readings, astrology readings with Ricky Williams, you go to rickywilliams.life, and we're bringing in also another historical figure. Stormy Daniels is with us. She joins us from Tulsa. She's on a stand-up comedy tour. She has upcoming stops in Vegas on Friday, Palm Springs and Hollywood.
Actually, Vegas got canceled.
Okay, I'm sorry.
What happened, Stormy? What happened to Vegas?
It's not on Vegas is fun. What happened to Vegas, Stormy?
Vegas was one of the ones that were giving us a little bit of a issue with venue security, and it's a long drive to get there from Tulsa. I'm on my tour bus, but we did add St. Louis and some other dates.
All right, so you've got Palm Springs and Hollywood the weekend after Friday. You've got Denver, Indianapolis, and New York City. She's also got a voter registration effort at stormthevote.com. We'll get to that in a second. But she's a big fan of astrology. So we brought in our friend Ricky Williams. We haven't done this in a while, and we're going to do some astrological charts of the candidates and get Stormy's thoughts. What are you smirking about, Ricky? What is funny to you before we've gotten started here?
No, that is cool. It has been a while, but this is cool. It's going to be a fun conversation, so I'm just excited about it.
All right. What do you know, Stormy, about the chart of Donald J. Trump, born June 14th, 1946? We have an accurate time of birth, 10:54 a.m. in Jamaica, Queens, and that's during a lunar eclipse. So there's going to be some probable insanity on this thing. Do you know anything about the astrological chart of Donald Trump, Stormy?
I actually do. So I have an astrologist. Her name is Stephanie Iris Weiss. She's a sex astrologist, but she contacted me for the first time years ago, and I didn't know. And she's like, your chart is pretty wild when it's laid with Donald Trump's. First of all, he's a Gemini, and they're nuts. They have that split personality thing going on. But so his sun, and I believe it's my Mars, they're like squared opposite of each other. So basically, from the beginning, we are arch nemesis. And I'm sure Ricky knows a lot more about this than even I do, but he's got an unusual star that's sometimes referred to as a demonic star in his chart. Those are not my words. Those are the words of the astrologist. But yeah, we were supposed to like literally be battling heads from before we were even born, I guess. And I know that my Lilith goes against him pretty harsh too. But the other big one is that he has his Pluto, I think, says he has a lot of childhood trauma and abandonment issues, and he doesn't like to be wrong. And I don't think we've ever heard anything more true than that, right?
All right. Well, we're going to get the expertise of Ricky Williams here in a second. But Ricky, have you heard of sex astrologist? I have not heard of a sex astrologist before.
Yeah, I mean, there's astrologers for everything. Yeah.
Okay, so what do you see in Trump's chart that will add some context to what Stormy is saying there?
Well, the idea of not liking to be wrong. We no one really likes to, but I think it's more in Trump. There's a need to be right. And I think the downside of the need to be right is you only surround yourself with people who tell you you're right. And often you turn a blind eye to the places where you might be off a little bit. And the other thing inside is Trump was born just before a full moon. And what that means in astrology essentially is that the moon is on one side of the chart and the sun is on the opposite side of the chart. So it creates someone who even more, and it can aggravate the Gemini split personality, because literally you have a need to be right, powerful need to be right, but also Gemini split personalities. But the core of Gemini is really about curiosity, right? And it's the need to be heard. But if you're not curious enough to find out where you're not right, then you need to talk, right? But you just talk crap. And so I think that's what we're seeing with Trump. And the other thing, Trump is a Leo rising, and on the darker side of it, someone who can act like a dictator. And so when you add all those together, you can see what happens.
Ricky, that need to be right, is that also on Dan's chart?
Another important thing about Trump's... Yeah, it is. 100%.
Thank you, Ricky.
100% it is.
Right, thank you. Thank you for clarifying that. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, there are some similarities. There's obviously differences. A chart doesn't describe a person. It describes the raw materials that a person is built of. and what they do with those raw materials are different. It's like Dan has the need to be right, but I'm a Gemini, right? And part of our friendship, right, is our debates back and forth where I try to get him to see a different perspective. And sometimes it works, right? Sometimes it doesn't.
Donald Trump.
Yeah, he was whispering that in my ear. Donald Trump. The demonic symbol that Stormy Daniels is bringing up. What is that, Ricky, that she's talking about there?
I'm not exactly sure. It's the sex astrologers and the different specific types of astrologers, they use specific types of tools. What I can say about Trump's chart is he was born with the sun on an eclipse, but the sun was right next to the planet Uranus. And Uranus is the planet of breaking the rules, and there's a positive side of breaking the rules. There's a negative side of breaking the rules. And I'll leave it at that.
Stormy, you were saying?
I found it because I just texted her and asked her what it's called, and I don't know all the stars to be like not the big ones, but it's called the Algol, ALGOL. Are you familiar with that one?
No, I don't use fixed stars, but I don't know.
That's what she's telling me.
Stugotz is going to help us with something before we get to Kamala Harris's chart here in a second.
I know I'll grow.
Stugotz has he's got the top 5 athletes in sports who connote by their very names a storm on the horizon.
Yes.
Any outside looking in?
No, just a straight 5 here for Stormy.
All right,
Yeah.
Number 5.
Mike Cloud.
Number 4.
Tim Raines.
Number 3.
Brian Windhorst.
Number 2.
Windy. Dan Marley. Thunder Dan.
Number 1.
Hale Irwin.
Thank you.
You got it.
Excellent Al Groh reference as well. Kamala Harris was born October 20th, 1964. Again, we have an accurate birth time, 9:28 p.m. in Oakland, the night of a full moon. What information can you give Stormy Daniels about her chart, Ricky?
Okay, yeah, Kamala's chart is fascinating because, again, we have 2 candidates who were both born on a full moon, different full moons, with Trump, it's Sagittarius and Gemini, so it's more active and crazy, more chaotic. With Kamala, it's Libra and Aries, right? And so Libra is all about harmony and balance, and Aries is all about war, right? And I think of Kamala's life because, again, a chart just shows the raw materials. You have to put it on top of someone's lived experience, And for her to become successful, she's had to find that balance of when to speak up and say something and when to take a step back and relax. And also what I think is beautiful about her as a presidential candidate is that some people might argue that our country is in need of some more harmony and balance, someone that can help 2 different sides appreciate the truth that the other holds. And this is really the key of Libra, But also too much Libra, right? It's we balance too much. But her Aries moon, we know that she's a fighter.
Before Ricky gets out of here, would you like to ask Ricky anything?
Sure. Do we know what her rising is?
She's a Gemini rising. Yeah.
Gemini rising. Oh, okay. So there's a lot going on there. I know that I'm Pisces all the way through. Yeah. And my moon is Scorpio, so I'm double water, which just means I cry a lot. Yeah. And then Sag, I believe, is my rising, and it's Sag that's the fire.
Right. Stormy is a perfect name for your chart. It really is.
All that water.
All the water, but also Sagittarius, is like the need for adventure. So Sagittarius rules journeys overseas, right? And you think of someone in a storm, but on a boat, right? That's someone who really is down for the adventure. And when you were born,
which is ironic because I'm actually terrified of cruises and big ships. Like I'm terrified of going on like a cruise.
Yeah, well, right. There's other kinds of waves to ride, if you know what I mean. So also the planet Mars, which is the god of war, right, is next to your sun. So like I'll punch you in the face, right? This fiery nature. It's great. And looking at your chart and Donald Trump's chart, when I looked at the 2 charts, it made me think I need to create an algorithm for my app, right? That when 2 people meet and they're deciding if they're going to take that next step, is that they look at the app real quick and they see, is something big going to happen because of this meeting, or is it going to be something that I forget in a week, right? And that will inform us on where to make these decisions. And if astrologer looked at your chart and Donald Trump's chart, right, the day before you guys met, right, they'd say, watch out, right? If you guys have a meaningful interaction, it's going to turn into something really big.
Yeah, I wish I'd have had that information.
Anything else when you overlap the charts of Donald Trump and Stormy Daniels? You're saying much of this in some way could have been foretold.
Yeah, when you look at two charts, you want to see how many planets are activating each other. And when you look at Donald Trump and Stormy's charts, it's like everything is activating each other.
RickyWilliams.life is where you go if you want some personal reading. Before you leave, Ricky, Stormy, what would you do you have any questions for Stormy before you leave, Ricky?
Just advice, is that you're put on this earth to be a truth teller, so don't ever be afraid.
Thank you, Ricky.
Thank you.
Good advice.
Yeah.
Good advice.
Words to live by.
Thank you. Stugotz, that's endorsed by Stugotz, a serial liar. RickyWilliams.life is where you go. Thank you, Ricky. We appreciate it. Before you go, though, Stormy, the transition into stand-up comedy, and when you say you're someone who cries a lot, I imagine much of what you've been through has been the ordeal of a lifetime.
That's an understatement. Probably the ordeal of many lifetimes. I don't know who I pissed off in a past life, but it must have been some sort of emperor or something, because this is insane. But like I said, it's life hands you oranges, and I've made orange juice.
Well said.
You're on a tour bus and a comedy tour. Like, explain to me how that journey happened.
I wrote a book called Full Disclosure in 2018, and it taught me two things. One, that a lot of people don't read, and two, the publishers really wanted to cut out a lot of the stories that I had been compiling over years. And originally, Donald Trump was in that book. He was just in a chapter about celebrities. He was like 2 pages. And somehow the publishers managed to create an entire book out of the worst 90 seconds of my life. So a lot of these like funny stories about being on the road, about being a stripper, about being a porn star, those got cut out. And my friend was like, well, you're such a good storyteller. Why don't you just do it on stage so that your words can't be altered? And I'm terrified of speaking in public, but I said, let's try this. And it was going really well. And I actually had an entire tour booked through Live Nation at the beginning of 2020, but then COVID happened. So that got canceled. And it's just now I'm getting back out there and doing some of these events again. Because I had to flee my home after being doxxed on the stand. So best way to do that is just, you've got to be on the bus anyway. You might as well go out there and do some stand-up dates. And we've got Palm Springs, Hollywood, the Denver Improv, Crackers, and Indianapolis. So you can get the links to all of this is on StormyDaniels.com. And yes, that website is safe for work. There's no adult content on it. So if you go to StormyDaniels.com, the front page has links to all the tickets and all the shows that we have coming up.
What have your last 4.5 months been like since you testified at the Donald Trump hush money trial?
Pretty intense. And that's the thing, is that people keep calling it the Stormy Daniels trial or the hush money trial. And it was about business records, falsification of business records. And I can't tell you how intense and crazy the death threats and things have been. People are like, oh, you need to drop these charges. I'm like, I didn't create these charges. I'm not the prosecution. I'm a witness. I was subpoenaed as well. But the media likes to say Stormy Daniels trial, and because it's salacious and it's exciting. It's way more exciting than, the box of documents trial. And so it's garnered a lot of intense hate. And the New York Post actually doxed me while I was still on the stand testifying. And somebody came to my house, my animals were attacked. So we fled home, and we've been living on the bus. So I was like, well, I got to do something. I got to get the voice, my voice out there, and my side of the story really told. And I combined it with my Storm the Vote efforts and just trying to make the best of the situation, I guess.
Stormy, who is that person in your traveling comedy RV that keeps opening and closing doors and isn't respecting your
That's my husband, and I keep glaring at him, but he's not listening.
He doesn't care.
He doesn't care. He's going to keep doing that. You reprimand him when we get off here. Which of your recollections, when you think back 18 years ago to the celebrity golf tournament in Lake Tahoe, strikes you as the most bizarre?
Oh my goodness. I mean, besides the obvious, besides
Tony Romo,
when I came out of that house to find Donald Trump doing his best Burt Reynolds impression in his underwear. The whole thing was pretty severe. And I also, trust me, the irony and the hilarity of the fact that I was there with an adult film company and they were sponsoring a hole is not lost on me.
I was thinking that perhaps the magazine he handed you with himself on the cover, like that was, I thought that was pretty amazing. That detail was pretty amazing. But you, obviously, you're more qualified here than I am.
Slightly.
You know what? And the fact that I did snoop through his toiletries on the bathroom counter, and I think that a man of that, that amount of money and stuff would buy products better than Old Spice and Pert Plus, but it also kind of sums up him in general, right?
I got to tell you, I love Old Spice. I mean, I do. It's fantastic.
But generally,
I'm with you on Pert.
Yes, generally though, when it comes to billionaires, it's generally not Old Spice. Stormy, before I let you go on this note, can you tell me, because many people who go through very difficult things and grow through the pain of those things don't regret having done those things. So if I give you a do-over, what do you do differently, if anything at all?
If I could do something over, I would not have gone to the room. Everything that happened to me after that was not my fault. I have maintained that I was not attacked or part of the Me Too thing, but that's only because I didn't say no. I just froze. And then my choice to speak out and to keep fighting and to go to court and testify, which was one of the most horrific and terrifying things I've ever done. It's very intimidating, and all the death threats and the things that I've lost, the time I've lost with my daughter, the amounts of money that it has cost, and and the stigma that is placed on me and my friends and family. If I would still do all of that over because I spoke the truth and I stood up, and it's something I want my daughter to be proud of. But if I could go even further back, I would have said absolutely not to being invited to that hotel room.
Kathy Griffin talks about her experience with Trump and really describes PTSD. I imagine you feel something similar, right? Like this is a mental health calamity that you probably don't ever really overcome in totality.
No, and in her case, she and I are friends now. We became friends about this, and we talk about a lot of that, the treatment things that she's had to go through. I think she lost a great deal of money. She was put on a no-fly list. She was, all the same things that happened to me happened to her. I think the only slight advantage that I had was that because I came from the adult industry, the things that they were saying about me on a personal level, I had heard 1,000 times. And, what are you going to do? Kick me out of, I wasn't mainstream. I didn't have a job that I could get fired from like she could at the time. It's a lot easier to cancel somebody who is mainstream than someone who works in the adult business. And, what are you going to do? Leak unflattering nude photos of me? As long as they paid their $29.99 to join my site and see my butt, who cares? So a lot of that, sluts and whore and you must have diseases and all that stuff. I had already heard that for so many years, just coming from being a dancer and an adult film actress, that I was a little more ahead of the curve if I was someone who hadn't come from the adult industry.
Stormthevote.com is where you should go if you want to make a difference democratically. Stormy, thank you for making the time. We do appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Stormy.
I can't believe I'm saying this, though. In the ingredients that we have here for what is an unusual interview, the most unusual thing throughout it is that Mike Ryan's only contribution to it was to text Stugotz a photo of Al Groh. Former Jets coach Al Groh.
Always there for you.
There wasn't enough going on during that interview.
Oh, I enjoyed it. I mean, I had a big smile on my face when Mike sent me that picture.
We made an Al Groh joke today. Good work was done. Hey, everybody, it's Mike Ryan, and I want to tell you about two of my favorite things, football and Miller Lite. And when you combine the two, that makes for one heck of a Miller time. See, Miller Lite has great taste, but is also less filling. And football, well, it's just spectacular from start to finish. You put those two things together, you've already carved out a perfect day. Miller Lite keeps things simple with undebatable quality, great taste, and only 96 calories. It's a beer that strips away everything that you don't need and holds on to what matters most. A light beer that actually tastes like beer. Make your game time taste like Miller time. Tastes great and is less filling. Let it be both. To get Miller Lite delivered right to your door, visit MillerLite.com/Dan. Or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories per 12 ounces. Fewer calories and carbs than premium regular beer. Welcome to DraftKings Crowning Moments. It is a segment in which we like to spotlight winners, and what's better than a winner, especially on an NFL Sunday. Let's put the spotlight on a bettor that placed a $666.66 bet on Amari Cooper to score 2 touchdowns. He did exactly that at plus 1,400, and it paid out $9,999.90. Let's keep the Amari Cooper theme going here, because another bettor put a $1,000 bet on Amari Cooper to score the first touchdown, and he did exactly that at plus 750. It paid out $8,500. Did you guys know Amari Cooper is essentially the same age as Calvin Ridley? Shocking enough as it is, they both went to Alabama, but they never played on the same team together. I hope your mind is blown. I'm going to blow your mind with another take right now. I think Malik Nabers is already the second best wide receiver in the NFL behind Justin Jefferson. Someone out there put $100 on Malik Nabers thinking the exact same way that I do, that this young man is special. And he scored 2 touchdowns at plus 2,000. That paid out at $2,100. Crowning Moments is presented by DraftKings. Submit your winning bets for a chance to be featured. DraftKings, the crown is yours.